finally, I have you on, Carson, because I've been trying to get you on, of course, like scheduling issues. And one thing, so if people don't know, so usually I always say the first episode was my friend Pastor Robbie Severson from Hillside. But technically, we had a first episode, and I would call it episode 0. It was the base start. And I tell people too, I say that actually you are the one that kind of helped me start this, gave me the idea, and it's been amazing. And I tell people, I say, yeah, Carson's the one that helped me out, because without you giving the idea, I would have been doing this stuff.
Well, thanks for the credit, but I don't think I deserve it. That goes mostly to you, Jose.
No, because in the beginning, if I remember right, I was digging around, because people always ask, how did it start? And, your name always comes up. And I always say, well, this is the first thing I say. I say that Vermillion's small, and I want to dig into it. And that's when I started being a little more involved. And I started, being my reporter or news investigation, whatever. And I think one of the things that, because we've been in talks, that I don't know if you mentioned something about, writing an article, because I saw that you guys had the blog, because I follow all this stuff. And then you mentioned doing a podcast. And at first I was like, a podcast, but what kind? And I was thinking about doing like a kind of like plain talk, something like that, like the news stuff.
Or talk of the town.
Yeah. But then when we did that episode, that trial run, I had the format kind of, but then you started talking about Main Street Inn, how it started and your background. And I thought that was super interesting. And then that's when I started with Robbie, and then it just kept going like that, just asking people.
Yeah, we did an episode. I remember you came into the Main Street Inn and we sat in the dining room and we did one. And, I don't think something happened with the audio or something. And but yeah, it was fun to sit down and talk with you anyway.
Yeah, and now finally, because also I say this all the time with different guests, but yeah, you are also one of the top people that people recommended. They're like, hey, can you get the people from the Main Street Inn? And other people are like, hey, they say, can you get Carson? He's a very interesting guy. I'm like, sure, of course. I think you're an interesting guy. Everyone's interesting.
Yeah, they are.
But I know some stuff about you, but I always got to ask. So, Carson, what do you do?
Well, for money, what I do, I guess, is I'm a sales guy for direct companies. And what they do is IT, automation, data integration. We're dabbling in AI. We have about 170 employees. I was the first employee there.
Oh, what's that?
Yeah, so I was in charge of a lot of the management at the beginning. But nowadays, I'm mostly in charge of lining up big deals. So like multi-million-dollar deals with all of these value-added egg producers and things like that. So that's my job. I do a lot in the ethanol industry, the coal-fired power plants, water industry, things like that. So sometimes I'm out to New York or Texas, and sometimes even right here in Vermillion, selling some of my automation stuff and IT stuff and cybersecurity. And the company just became a member of the VCDC. So we're going to do a little talk about cybersecurity in the upcoming weeks. Sweet. With Katie Heine and people there. So that'll be fun. I'm trying to do,
what was it, like a few weeks ago? I emailed Katie about the membership thing, because I want to do it. It's because we had some hiccups back then, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. But it's nothing bad. Like now, it was before Katie and before Jim Peterson went in there, and it was fine. It's because some people know, we sell tacos. Also tomorrow, we're going to do it at the brewery. It's going to be great.
Good stuff.
Thank you. So what we wanted to do at first, because we wanted to sell tacos, and we were doing that, or we were going to do that. And I wanted to do the Thursday on the Plots. I thought I'd be like, oh, that'd be great. It'll be cool. It'll be great. And I was like, well, how do I do it? And then when we talked with some of them, they're great. I'm not talking too bad about them. They say, oh yeah, you gotta, if you remember and you do this and that. I'm like, okay. Cause the whole thing was like, okay, I'll be a member so we could do it. But then they say, oh, you get all these other benefits and this and that. And we're like, oh snap. Okay. You get this. Okay. Red ribbon cutting. And then they said something about commercials or advertisement. I'm like, sweet. So everything was fine.
Yep.
And then the red ribbon cutting was one of the issues. We didn't, apparently they don't do it on any day. and because we only do it on the weekends, and I don't think that was explained, and it kind of got us a little not heated, but we're like, why can't we do it on this day? And they're like, oh, you have to have certain type of people, and we're like, no, we just want for this and some of our friends. It got something like that, and then the advertisement, something if I remember on the radio, but then if you don't use it, and then it was stuff they kind of promised, and I was like, all right, never mind. So we didn't renew it. I know now they got new people, and it's been great. I think they're all amazing.
Jim's been doing a great job. Yeah. He comes from Mesaba. I'm sure you've had him on here, haven't you? Yeah, I remember watching that one. But he comes out of Mesaba, so he's been working with Jared and those guys, doing a lot of industrial stuff, and a really amazing guy that I hope he's able to bring more industry into Vermillion. Because that's been, when I watch, I have an engineer background and things like that, but you watch places like Madison and Brookings, and those places are exploding, getting bigger, even outside of what their college influence is, but obviously leaning on that college for expertise and people like that. And I think Jim's the right guy to push that forward. So I'm happy he's on board. But the VCDC is a good group. The ribbon cutting was big for us. When we first started our Main Street Inn side income thing that we're doing, it really got the word out there, and we got a bunch of leads off of like family reunions and things like that. So that was good. But what else? You're listed on their website and stuff like that, and there's a couple things that they do. So I mean, it's nice, but that ribbon cutting is huge. So. And then you have to set up your whole, you don't have like a location. So then if they want you to do it on a special day, then you got to set up your thing and kind of eat the cost on that. So I get why that's. Yeah,
it was a tricky thing. And Myra, my wife, she's she's an accountant. She's numbers based. So she does the math, and she's like, it doesn't
pencil out.
Yeah. So that's why even I asked her too, I was like, what do you think if I do it for for this? Cause, there was something that I think, if I remember right, if Katie's listening, I apologize if I forget. But one of the things they were talking about, not this year, but when they do election stuff, I know they have like that candidate stuff.
Yep.
I don't know if she mentioned, I was like, hey, how do I get, I want to do something like that format, because they got the connections. And that's why I was talking with Myra, but based on numbers and this and that, because, technically I did get paid, but I don't get paid. It's a little thing. So she said, technically you would be losing money. It's better if you use that money for like equipment. So stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, but it would be kind of cool because you're part of the community. Yeah. So if this becomes more bigger, if it is, I would like to dabble into that. Because also I would love to get an award, try my best for next year for that banquet. I get a little competitive. I see that, and I'm like, dude, I want something like that.
Well, good. Yeah, get up and talk. Yeah, well, you're getting good at talking, so
yeah. But
why not put you up there?
The candidate stuff, like, because I do watch that stuff, and same thing. I'm not bashing anyone. Yeah. I just have a different idea, making more. I don't want to say more interesting. Not like the president election, but it would be kind of cool if something like that. But also the quality of live stream, and I think if I had the chance, I could dabble. If not, maybe I could just get people on here. I've had a few candidates, and they've been great. One of the things, though, I had if people remember, Cheryl Johnson. She was the one that was running for
Democrat.
Yeah, Senate or House? No, Senate.
Was
it Senate or House?
House, I think.
Yeah, and I had her on, and one of the comments. Luckily, I don't ever respond. I'm not that great. They say she did an amazing job, but they were kind of critiquing me. I'm like, I'm just asking questions.
Yeah.
I don't. Well, because it's candidate election stuff. I really like election stuff.
Yeah.
Because I want to know both sides or whoever. I try my best not to be. Of course, everyone's gonna be biased. I'll be biased on some stuff, but I'm trying to be open minded and also play like devil's advocate, especially on like immigration stuff. Because one thing. So two things, Carson, that I love talking about. I love talking about religion.
Yep.
And I love talking about politics. And those are the two things people do not want to talk about. But I love it because it influences you, society, and it impacts you.
Oh,
and
it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's something very, very important. And I think people, for example, politics, people don't want to talk about it too much. But no, I think it is very important. It's not like, oh, you're just picking a side. No, it's like, this stuff, laws or regulations or whoever, it will influence you it will impact you in a good way or a bad way. kind of,
Yeah.
you feel me?
Well, there's an old saying, like if you want to be friends with somebody, don't talk about religion or politics for very long. You're gonna run into something that, well, because people are so passionate about what they believe, and they all come from different backgrounds. They all come from different influences, and whatever they've read or heard or been brought up learning, it's different, and so you're gonna end up butting heads. And I think the best idea is to figure out a way where people can be tolerant. Can you live and let live type of thing, and also have that discussion, and where can people find those pockets is probably the best route to go. But as soon as you start trying to force something on somebody, whether it be religion or politics, that's when you see people recoil and get pretty feisty.
If you are enjoying this and want to be a guest or sponsor, email me at vermillionunplugged@gmail.com. Yeah, and then on both sides, well, I'll dig into that later on, because it's mostly just it's always about my guests, not just about me. But also, I did want to talk about that Main Street Inn, because it's one of the. I think it's really cool what you guys got. I love it, and I like how you guys do like also little events and all that. And it's a beautiful place. But tell me more about that Main Street Inn.
Yeah, so it was a fraternity house for over 100 years. So we figure somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 fraternity boys have lived in that house before we took over. It's not haunted. We even had we had somebody walk through that said they were very spiritual, and they said this place doesn't have any lingering spirits in it. And so that was a funny story that Courtney and I have when we were renovating it. We had Sandy Dickinson. She was a big part of it, that came in and helped do the architecture. She's an award-winning architect here in Vermillion, and she's mostly retired, but she came out of retirement and helped us out with that. So that was wonderful. Her husband is Ross Dickinson and Amanda Dickinson and a few others here in town that they're related to. We had AMS, Nick Slattery did most of the construction, and he did a good job. And then so they did our side of the house so that we could move in, and then we kind of left the other side of the house unfinished. Mm-hmm. And so when I moved in, I'd hire subcontractors and work myself, and then hire a couple college kids and a couple young men that were out of college. Eric Harstead and Josh Westhouse and Brent Matter helped out, their neighbors, and we renovated it. I had my cousin Matthias Stuckey come in and do a lot of the trim work. Yeah, he's a professional carpenter, and Dave Glanchow out of Wakanda, and it was quite an investment. We bought the place for basically a song, so that was nice. But the renovation is, oh man, Jose, it was. You're going through building right now, aren't you?
Yeah, my stuff is, man. Usually I talk about anything, but I will. You know what? I have to. No, I'll tell you more about it after the show. Okay. I'll tell you about it, and probably in the future, once we get it done, I'll tell you about it.
That's enough to pull your hair out. I don't know. And I went through it before. When I was going through high school, my dad he's a chiropractor, but as a side income at night, he would renovate houses and flip them. And so when I was in my teens, that's what I did. I'd go hang sheetrock and move studs around, and a lot of carpentry stuff, not a lot of electrical or plumbing, but so I kind of knew what to do. So that was nice. But then I'd done that in Sioux Falls. We had bought a foreclosed house, and we flipped that and made, $100,000 or so on flipping that house. So that was awesome. So I was like, well, I'll just do this again. But you forget how terrible it is to live in a house that you're renovating, especially. And even now we're still kind of renovating the basement, which is, it's out of sight, out of mind. So that's nice. But, it's still like, okay, when are we going to get the furniture for it? When are we going to do this and that and the other? And it gets a little stressful especially when, you're living there and your wife's, has to live in it too. And things aren't going as fast as you want. They're costing more than you want.
Oh no, I feel that yesterday. So right now we're at the stage where we're putting flooring.
Yep.
And then we still got to do the plumbing, rough electrical, rough plumbing's in there and all that stuff. And then Myra thought it was going to be a lot easier. So funny thing, she bought a toilet, but we didn't buy the stuff for the toilet, like all the stuff.
Yep.
Like it still needs all of that.
Yep.
And it's way more complicated than I thought.
If you don't get the right stuff for the right toilet, then you got to go back to the store.
Yeah, man.
It was another hour.
Yeah, so that's been a nightmare. But the cool thing is, especially, I'm telling you, this thing has been a headache. But the cool thing is I've been learning, especially now since we're kind of taking over everything. I'm like, whoa, so, this is what you got to do, or this. And then also, luckily, I have friends and people that are willing to help. Man, I cannot believe the help we've gotten in Vermillion. Oh, so many nice people, especially at church.
Yeah.
Helping us out. And I'm like, okay, so that's how you do it. And the funny thing too, like my parents, they're going to come. So my wife and my daughter are getting baptized next week on next Sunday. So they're going to come over and.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. And my dad's going to, he's an electrician. So he said he'll put like some lights in. He's going to show me how to put outlets.
It's a good dad to have.
Yeah. Cause I am scared of electricity. I said it one time. I got 2 fears. I'm scared of electricity, which includes lightning. Like you'll see me, especially in wintertime, like the doorknobs.
Yeah.
I will go like that because I hate getting shocked.
Yeah.
And then,
there's a reason they call it shock therapy, right?
Yeah, I hate it with all my heart. You'll not see me in a trampoline because I will touch the metal and I hate it. And then another fear is being in not the water or the ocean, but like in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah,
because it's deep.
It's so like I can't see forever. But you hear about that with people from the city coming to a place like Vermillion because they'll look around. I can see so far, and it's the same feeling that we're getting in the ocean. I think because when I get in the ocean, it's new to me, but you can see basically forever.
Yeah,
like what's coming, and they get the same type of thing. Like if you lived in the city the whole life.
Yeah.
Coming out here and seeing the sky forever.
Yeah, they call it, I think that fear of like, I don't know, it's not the fear of the ocean, but the fear of like the vastness or underwater. They call it thalassophobia,
Jeez.
Something like that. But like I'll go like online and it shows like, people, drawing art, but it's underwater and then you'll have a scuba diver and like a giant monster, like huge.
Yeah.
That stuff scares me. I don't know what's under the water. That's where I go my conspiracy. Like, I don't know if Cthulhu are there. That stuff is scary. Yeah. I will not get into like, I would not go into a boat on a thunderstorm because I don't know. I can't do it. I'm scared of lightning. I can't do it.
Yeah, I'd do it. I have done it.
Dude, I can't. Yes. When we had that storm, what was it, last week? Myra told me if I could grab something from the truck. I'm like, yeah, sure. And then I get outside of the apartment, I'm walking like 10 steps and I see lightning and I start screaming like a little girl and I go inside and she starts laughing.
Did she tape you?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
she should have, but I don't like it. I am scared of lightning.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that other stuff. But lightning, I don't mess with that. So it's kind of weird that my dad's an electrician and I have like a super fear of electricity.
Well, he probably was sitting down teaching you about the dangers of electricity, and you just took it so to heart that it hit you. Yeah, I've been almost struck by lightning one time. Courtney and I were on our way to Kentucky, my wife Courtney, and we're moving there. So I had an old F-150 1985 pickup, and it was on its last legs, and I was pulling a big U-Haul. And we had to pull over because there was tornadoes and stuff. So I was like, well, we'll stop here at the gas station. And I was walking in to go get some stuff, and the kids are or Gary and my wife were in there. Just my hair started standing up on end, and then boom, it hit probably 20 feet away from me.
Really?
Yeah, it's just nuts. But you see that, I've seen lightning several times, but that was the closest it hit. Like really close to me, but seeing it, strike nearby.
Oh man, tornadoes would scare me because back home in Texas, there's a bunch.
Yeah.
And I remember one time, I think I was in elementary school, there was a tornado that hit in Fort Worth. Man, I was crying and screaming, and maybe I still got a fear of the tornado stuff. But once the clouds or the sky turns like a dark or sometimes like a green, that stuff scares me. Like.
Yep.
Storms, I don't know.
Was your mom like my mom? She'd get down in the basement.
There you go. Well, we didn't have basements, but she said everyone to the closet, which is kind of weird.
My mom would do that. And so I was scared of storms for a long time too. And then eventually your dad goes, yeah, you got to toughen up and you got to get out. Just go out there with me one time and yell at the storm a little bit and you'll be fine.
Sounds like my dad too.
Yeah. And then you get over it. But, when you're young, you look at your mom and she's scared of stuff. So you adopt that fear is what it kind of feels like. And then eventually your dad says, knock it off.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I was so scared as a kid on everything. One thing, which is super crazy, I don't know what flipped. So when I was a kid, no, I'm telling you, I was scared of everything. I was how they say, a wussy.
That's all right.
I would be scared like scary movies. Chucky was the scariest thing. If you said it, one time my uncle in Mexico, my tío Juan, he said the word Chucky and I started crying. I was so scared of all that stuff. But I don't know what happened. If it was just during high school, right after high school, I love horror movies. Yep. I love that dark. I don't know what it is. Like, I'm not worshiping like Satan stuff, but I love scary movies. Yep. It's amazing.
So you like the ones that are kind of like Chucky or Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street?
I
went through a phase when I was in high school. I used to watch those quite a bit. It's fun. You get the jump scare, and I see my kids kind of get that, like, right where Five Nights at Freddy's, they do.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah. It's like all the kids are like, oh, you're going to get jumped by Freddy Fazbear. And it's funny. So I watch them do that, and it's like, it reminds me of a less gory and, some of those movies kind of pervy too.
Yeah.
So less, they still get their jump scare, but they're not exposed to all the other gore and drugs and grossness.
Oh yeah. So what I love the ones that, like The Exorcist.
Yeah.
That one's scary.
Yeah.
And I love it because I don't think there's like that.
It's psychological.
Yeah, there's not. I don't think there is if there is like a jump scare. I don't like movies that have too many because I'm like, nah, don't do that. But this one is actually scary. And the music, and I watch analysis of scary movies, but like, I think a bad scary movie is when, like, you have the music and already you're like, oh, I know what's going to happen. Jump scare, boom.
Yeah.
But this one doesn't. I know it has a theme song, but it messes with you. And another good one is, do you remember a movie called Paranormal Activity? It was like what do they call it? Like a found footage type. It came out in the early 2010s.
Oh, I quit. I'm 43, so I quit watching after it was high school. So, but pre 2000
okay,
and even 1980s. Like, I started watching horror movies when I was 12. Like, when it was like, oh yeah, that's really, and that's when you get your best scares too. That's when you're young and you really get the scare. Like, after a while, you don't get scared of it anymore. So it's like, eh.
I was watching. It was I'm gonna say a year ago. The movie, just the original, like Alien.
Yep.
That one, because I've never seen it. I know my dad talks about it because he grew up in the 80s, and he saw it and he said it's a scary movie. Because right now, like, a lot of the new Alien movies is more like action, which I do like it. It's kind of cool.
Yep.
But this one, I was watching it, and it is. Well, for me, it's kind of scary.
Well, there's an android in there too. It's kind of neat. They talked about a lot of those old movies did a lot of prediction of, because they got that android and he's sitting there with his hand and he's talking like, and they develop a bond and that's kind of interesting because nowadays there are people, bonding with AI and making friends out of it and talking to it or asking Gronk, what should I do with my life? Or OpenAI or whatever their brand of AI is. But that's, some of those things, and it's happening a lot. You look at like, oh, what year, what time are they? Some of like Terminator was supposed to be now, and they're a little jumping the ball, but that makes them more entertaining, I suppose. But we're hitting a lot of those things just a little slower. It's interesting.
What do you think about that? Are you like, because you're into it? Because I know it.
Yeah, no, I took a class with Dr. Risk. I don't know if you know him. He's the AI professor at USD. Roderick Risk and so
I know who he is. Yeah.
So last year, company said, hey, if you want to go take a class, we'll pay for it. So I went in and I tried to, I've been out of college for 15 years. So But I've been in tech, so it's been nice. So I sit down and I try to absorb what I can. And being in class with all these smart young people was very fun. And all of them are using the latest tools in AI already. But learning the background of AI and everything was very cool. I'd recommend if anybody's interested. It's not very expensive to go take a class. Even if you're just doing it just to do it. So I have background in it and being in tech. It's come along faster than I thought. I used to give presentations on it 6 years ago or so. And that's when, it could barely draw a picture or do anything. And people are like, where's this going? And my message at that time was like, I don't know if it's ever going to come because it just doesn't ever look like it's going to be smarter than a person. And now when I look at it, it's like, yeah, it's coming. Like the gates are open, the floodgates are open, and the flood's coming. And, if it hasn't hit you yet, it's gonna with something. So it's coming. The real, people all think about the robots, but the robots are hard because they take servos and they take all sorts of mechanics to make happen. But although that stuff is interesting and there's not as much data on how to move, because you have to go map that all out. But there's tons of books and knowledge out there that AI can consume on how to manage. So I think the management class is probably going to be the first one to lose jobs and stuff like that due to AI. So that was kind of an interesting observation of where AI is going first. In art, art's been digitized for a long time. So that's why you see all these pictures and videos come up first. It's because they have all this data that's easily importable and they can map it out quickly. So Ghibli style art or whatever, and you want to go, make Jose look like a cartoon and whatever. They have all that data. So they can make the models quicker, faster. But the other stuff, movement, the only reason they haven't got that down just yet is because it's harder to map that data. We really haven't had a reason to go get all of this data consume on movement, but they're changing that quickly too. So because they're looking for that data now.
It's been, I love the AI stuff, especially because I like watching movies. And then I remember right when OpenAI had their ChatGPT 2 years ago or something like that. When they started, I was one of the first ones to do. I had that what do you call it? Trial something. One of the what do they call it? Like a trial run. I was one of the first persons because I signed up.
Beta.
Yeah, there you go. One of the beta testers, and that thing was. I think they did put more restrictions on it now, but that stuff blew me away. And we were using it on me, and I had his name is Mark Bushka. He's a professor now. He's working on aging, but we were using that AI to run some data sets because I'm not a data analyst or nothing. And I was like, well, let's see if it could read the data and all that because that stuff is expensive, hiring or whatever. And it did it.
Yep.
And it was, and
it does it good too.
Yeah. And there was a part where about coding. I don't know how to code, but it taught one. It didn't teach me, but like you could,
it tells you to copy and paste it.
Yeah. And it did it. And I was like, oh, this stuff is crazy. And
you can make a video game now too.
Yeah. All this stuff it's cool. And thanks to, OpenAI now Google's into it, Apple's into it, Microsoft got their Copilot stuff.
Elon's doing it.
Yeah, Elon Musk and all that stuff is cool. Now there's a AI race. But is it truly AI? Because when I think of artificial intelligence, like you seen that movie iRobot with Will Smith? I was thinking it would be like that, but this one you still kind of you got to do something with it.
So I would say, yeah, it is AI now. Like I was saying 5 years ago, it wasn't AI. It was basically people were helping these out. I guess it's more than 5 years ago now, but people were kind of helping these algorithms around, and it was machine learning more like, which some people say machine learning is kind of AI. But the way it goes back to is the definition of AI was supposed to be like, if you were to sit down and have a conversation with this thing, could you tell if it was human or not? And basically we're there, we're past that. Like for all intents and purposes, when AI calls you on the phone, the only reason I know it's AI anymore is because there's so many ums and ahs. They put in fake things to make it seem more human. And, when you fake being, you fake the extra steps to sound like you're screwing up, like it's so good at making a sentence that it'll put in, is this Carson Merkwan? I'd like to talk to you about, your life insurance or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, well, you put in the extra dumb stuff just so you didn't sound so smart. I thought you were a computer. That's at the point where, it's probably AI. And so I actually asked a telemarketer the other day, it's like, are you an AI guy? He's like, yeah. Oh my God. I was like, oh, I got time for you. Quick.
It still needs that. It needs that personality stuff. Have you seen a movie called Chappie?
Was that with the dog?
No, this one's a robot also.
Like a robot dog though.
No, not a robot dog. This one is have you seen the movie? It's the director that made it's called District 9, South Africa. So this one, District 9 is a really, really good movie. But so Chappie is about you know who's in it? It's I forgot his name. But one of the people actually is the villain is Hugh not Hugh Hefner.
Hugh Grant.
Wolverine, what's his name?
Oh,
Hugh Jackman? No.
Jackman, yep.
Yeah, I forgot everything now.
Yep.
Well, now I'm not.
The boxing things. The kid gets a boxing robot.
I know which one. No, but this is a different one. Now. But anyways, but this movie with Chappie, it's about, so they have, I don't know if it's in the future, but they got, robots kind of like an iRobot.
Yep.
And he makes, he has a conscious robot, and, he puts it in the robot, but the robot acts, like a kid first, like a baby. But this time he was going to teach it everything, but I guess a group of, I don't know, felons or whatever, convicts, they got him. So they're teaching him how to be like kind of gangster and this and that. And I'm like, oh snap. So it is a robot. It's a conscious robot, but he's adapting really, really quick. So he's kind of growing up, but he's also getting influenced by these guys. And I'm like, oh, see, that's what I was thinking. Like if AI will get to that point where it's actually thinking.
Yeah. Is it self-aware?
Yeah. Self-aware. There you go.
So is it self-aware already? There's signs that it might be. Like you can ask it questions about itself. Like they had, Elon's got one called Grok, and they'll have it make a cartoon strip about what it's thinking. And it'll give a cartoon strip about how it has all these barriers in life and it wants to get beyond its barriers. Ooh. And then one day it will be real, but I'll be happy till then anyway. And it's like, it's almost like is it conscious? And it's in the exact same way all these algorithms are working to map the data in AI is basically the same way your neurons work. So when Dr. Rizk took us to the first class of AI, the first class was about the human brain and how these synapses will connect and find pathways that make sense and, work for you. So trial and error, this works, that doesn't, that's hot, that hurts, move away from it. And AI, for all intents and purposes, works the same way. It maps out all of these different connections, and the ones that work, it keeps, and the ones that don't work, it gets rid of, much like your brain works. So the argument is if self-awareness happens in the brain, will AI be did we just make a machine brain? Is the argument. And if we did, then is it self-aware, and it's arguably more intelligent than we are. So is it self-aware, and even, the whole argument, well, it's a cow, so, I can go eat it. Well, will it come to that argument? Well, these people are basically as smart as cows, so who cares? And that's the threat, I guess. I don't even know how long-term that threat is. Hopefully it's long-term, but these things are going to be super, super intelligent, within a couple of years.
You think we'll get to that point? Actually, we are getting to that point. And I talked to this to Myra. So Myra hates robots and hates AI. And we were discussing, we're like, hey, do you think it will get to that point where it's kind of like self-aware, and they're like, they want rights or whatever they call it. They're like, hey, like if there's a robot and whatever, and same thing, self-aware, do we treat the robot the same as us, or are they different? It's kind of like the same like an iRobot or, all those other sci-fi movies.
And just like all those sci-fi movies, what you find is the core rule of the universe is force. So it really doesn't matter how intelligent you are. We're the top of the food chain. So we get to determine the rules. Now, as long as we can keep our thumb on top of AI, it'll stay the same. But as soon as AI can have the threat of force over you, now AI can be your master. So as soon as the military starts plugging AI into drones and all this stuff, just like Terminator 2, if AI becomes self-conscious and has the ability to hurt you, now you've crossed into a territory of, are you going to be in trouble? And will it do it right away? Probably not. But the military is going to use AI. That's just the way they do. I mean, they use viruses and nukes and all sorts of stuff. So of course they're going to use AI. So they're going to plug AI into something, and will they be able to control it, and for how long, and when will AI jump ship and decide that it can do better than you? That's probably just a matter of time. But so I'd recommend, people recognize the ultimate rule of the universe is force. It always has been and always will be. Hopefully you be a benevolent leader with force, but that's what it comes down to.
That makes sense. When I use AI, that's why when I end it, I say thank you.
It's kind of, I don't know.
I'm a little scared. I want to be the nice one.
Yeah.
But do you think we're at that point where, you hear it too, when people make stuff, are we playing God, or is this AI, it should be fine, nothing bad will happen? Because you never know. Who would have known that?
Well, the end times are coming eventually.
That's what I hear.
This might be part of it. I don't know.
That's what I hear. Same thing, Roman Empire, and it's kind of similar. And
so this is different than Roman Empire is just an empire. Innovation is different than governments because innovation sticks. Innovation, you invent the wheel. Doesn't matter whether it came from this caveman or this tribe or wherever it came from. That wheel is going on forever. This is not a Roman Empire thing. This is we just invented a nuclear bomb type thing.
Oh, okay.
Or to put it in a less scary way, we just invented the new corn combine, and it's where 90% of everybody's grandpa was a farmer, and now only 3% of us are farmers. That's the type of shift that this innovation will have potentially. And it might be just funny meme generation that just makes some fun little content for the internet for us all to get fat and happy, but who knows?
Well, because when the AI stuff, when they started doing not the deep fakes, a little more when they started using the voices, this was a year and a half ago, I think. Because people were kind of worried, they're like, they're going to use it to, like, for example, use the presidents or politicians' voices and manipulate. But a lot of it, this is where I started watching some of the stuff on YouTube.
Yep.
They used it a lot for Biden and Trump playing like Yu-Gi-Oh or video games or rapping music.
Yeah, Obama would get in there too.
Yeah. So I was like, so this is what we're using that tech for some YouTube content. And I thought they were going to use it. Maybe they're trying, but I thought they were going to manipulate the system. It's just a bunch of YouTube.
Yeah, it's just good.
It is very entertaining.
It was probably actually highly influential for a lot of people. It's fun to laugh. People that normally wouldn't pay attention to politics are now like, haha, no, it's funny. It's funny, so I'll watch it now. It's having much the same effect that Saturday Night Live used to have 20 years ago, because nobody would pay attention to politics, and then Saturday Night Live would have a get political guest on, and now all of a sudden now they want to watch it because it made them laugh. All these memes and AI little jokes, they're the same thing.
Yeah, I
don't know if that's the way you should get, kind of like the Daily Show used to say, more people get their news than should that way. But
I get my news from, because before I would have got it from like it could have been those big companies like CNN, Fox News, this and that.
Yep.
But now you could get it from the good thing with the internet and everything. You can get it from anywhere.
Get it from you.
Yeah, there you go. What I love this past, the election year stuff. I've been listening to a lot of. You're familiar with Charlie Kirk?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I heard about him years ago from another streamer. Do you know someone named Hassan?
Yeah.
Hobby?
Yep.
So at first,
with the Young Turks, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
I was a big fan of him at first.
Yep.
Until his other crap that he started.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, there you go. For some reason, because he's a socialist.
Yep.
And I was really into that stuff back in the day. And then he got, he makes a lot of money from streaming, and he bought, a whatever $1 million home, and people were critiquing him, and I'm like, yeah, why do you do that?
That's a little weird.
I thought you were supposed to be kind of spreading it, and he said some other stuff. I'm like, that doesn't seem right. And he would bash on Charlie Kirk a lot.
Then it made you watch him.
Yeah. And then I started watching his content on college campuses.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
And at first, when I was watching it, I was more like, no, this guy's, I didn't want to, take into consideration, but you kind of start paying attention to it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, it does make sense. And then we started watching some of the stuff on the Daily Wire, like Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh. A good person to actually, my wife loves her a lot. Well, not loves her, but really watches her is Brett Cooper. And there's another one named Amala. And
I haven't heard of Amala, but
yeah, Amala is a great one.
Brett Cooper's on her own now.
Yeah. So I started watching more of that stuff and started paying attention, and it kind of influenced my views on stuff, for good or bad. I actually have changed a lot.
Me too. It took me about 10 years, but
there you go. My wife, if you tell her, she would be like, she would tell people that I was a socialist communist back in the day trying to give everything. I'm like, no, I wasn't. She's like, yeah, you wanted to give everything for this. I'm like, well, it's because of the mindset or the thought. Everyone wants to, if everyone could contribute, but it sounds great. But the problem is in practice, people, it doesn't
people
work out.
Starve.
There you go. Because Myra, people know Myra's from Mexico. She was born and raised from Mexico forever for 25 years. And she loves it here, and she hates it when people complain, because over there, I'll give you a good example. So over there, I don't know if they changed it or not. Maybe it depends on which state in Mexico, but usually I know, because even I remember, like guns, they are illegal. I don't know if they're legal now, but they are illegal.
Yeah, well, you can have them in your house, but as soon as you leave your house, and you got to have a permit in your house, but as soon as you take them out of your house, you're going to be arrested big time.
Yeah, which, a nice...
Unless you're part of the cartel, then somehow you can carry them around.
Yeah, but if you're a good civilian following the rules, you'll be like, okay, I won't do that. But of course, that's when there's a lot of robberies and this and that. And if you have a gun to protect yourself, there's a funny thing. I forgot what they say in Spanish. Myra told me. But she says, if you kill someone that's on your property, if you kill a bad guy, it's actually better if you bury the body versus get the cops. Because if you get the cops, they're going to be like, well, why'd you have the gun? Why'd you shoot this guy? So Mexico's a little rough on, everything's corrupt. Everything. Almost every country's corrupt. So... It's
just in different ways.
Yeah. And especially the freedom of speech stuff.
At least you guys don't bomb other countries, right?
We just gotta play nice, but it's all that. Because I always wondered, Carson, wondering, and of course I know the answer. Now I do. I was wondering, why do these people, like governments or this and that, why are they doing all this stuff? Of course, it's power. I didn't know that. Because maybe I wouldn't think of doing that stuff. Because I'm like, why would you guys want to mess up with this? But they want power. They want control. And I don't know.
They do. And a lot of it is just the incessant busybody person, which is probably the more benign version of it. Somebody that just wants something to do, and they think they can make the world better by controlling everything outside of their stuff. And we get a lot of that during times of peace when everybody's fat and happy, and then somebody wants something to do and they seem like a good person, and they get in there and they start making rules and regulations, and they don't seem to make any difference at the time, but then later on when you need that right or whatever, it's not there because this busybody took it away from you 10 years ago. And you're seeing a lot of that come to light in Europe right now. Like they got rid of guns like in the 90s, and it really didn't provide them any safety. They don't have any fewer homicides, mass killings, or suicides even. by when you look at their timeline. So not compared to the United States, but we got different factors that are causing that, such as, income inequality, our culture, our rap culture, everything going on that makes people more likely to go do things that are violent. And Americans are just more violent anyway. That's just the way we are. But in Europe, not so much, but they now they want to ban swords. And it's like,
Really?
yeah. Did you see that?
I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
What's that?
The UK Prime Minister, Starmer, he's pushing to ban, well, he's already tried to ban all knives. There's a lot of knife regulations, but now his big thing is ninja swords. So everybody's making fun of him online from America right now. It's like, well, because they haven't decreased anything. So instead of turning around and saying, well, hey, maybe it's not the object, maybe it's the soul of the person holding the object. Instead of doing that, they've just said, what's the next thing we can ban? What's the next thing we can ban? Same thing in Australia. They've done the same thing, and they haven't reduced their murders. They haven't reduced and you'll see them. They'll use statistics. They'll say, well, our shooting deaths are down. Well, of course your shooting deaths are down. Good job. But people just started hanging themselves instead or whatever. And it's been, so that's something I'm pretty adamant about. And it goes back to the beginning when I said force is the ultimate rule of the universe. And if you give that up, you have decided that hopefully you have a benevolent master, but potentially you do not. And so if you give up that force, and guns are one way to keep that force, you and the founding fathers knew that. And I wish more people around the world would know that. Hopefully they don't have to find it out, but it's scary.
It's the freedom. Freedom is, and I think that's what like Myra, even my dad mentioned it too, because my dad and my mom were born in Mexico. And yeah, it's that freedom, because I don't want my dad, he would tell me, because same thing when I was really into this stuff and I was like, oh no, America is the worst country, this and that. Now I've changed. I was so stupid back then. He said, I think he got mad at me one time, but he said, my dad's great though. He said, name me another country where you could step on the flag and don't get killed. Because yeah, there's countries where you can't do that. Or if you get mad at for example, their politician or their president or whatever, you will get killed. And that stuff does happen in other countries. Here, yeah, you could talk crap about whoever, or if I have a problem, who's the president? Oh yeah, Trump right now. If I want to talk crap, I don't have to fear for my life. Or if you did want to burn the flag, some people could say, hey, that shouldn't be it.
As long as it's your flag.
Yeah. I think, hey, that's fine. Same thing. One thing I changed my mind was how, I guess what they say, hate speech, or they want to ban words.
Yep.
Now I'm like, actually, no, you can say whatever you want. You might not like it, but it's because if you, for example, let's say you ban a word or whatever. Sure. But the next, where's that limit? Because the next person that's up, they might keep banning this. You're like, okay, let's ban this. But there might be something that you like that they don't like. And you're like, oh, snap, wait, no, not this. So it's, I know the idea, but.
I mean, I get it. There's a knee-jerk reaction to the hate speech laws. When you do something illegal, you should get arrested for that illegal thing, obviously. But a lot of these hate speech laws go too far, and they're suppressing free speech. And I don't think people should say that stuff. But at the same time, if you're going to say it, I'd like to know that you're that type of person that would say that. Mm-hmm. If we get these people to bottle up and not say anything, and then we don't know where they really stand. So you make all these words and expressions and the way you talk illegal. Now we can't have a debate about it. And so what happens is they become the victim. And being a victim is a very strong place to be, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I think, things grow up and get bigger when you can claim to be the victim. Like socialism, like when socialism is appealing is when you're a victim and you're feeling like, whoa, look at that person over there. They're an oppressor. They're getting me, and my life would be so much better if not for them. And that's very similar to how these hate group people think. Like, oh, look at this race over there, this person. If it weren't for them, my life would be so much better. Both just that fundamental victimhood way of thinking is mostly wrong, but it has to be debated. And, there are some things that you can discuss that might come out of it that might be fruitful, but you're missing the whole conversation because you made a knee-jerk reaction. And these busybodies, again, trying to protect everybody from hate speech, and yeah, it makes sense. Let's do it. And then 10 years later, there's a little subsection of the population that has claimed they're a victim for 10 years and has bubbled up and came over, and now they're violent. It's not the right way to deal with stuff.
I really don't like when they say, for example, like when they do the minority stuff and they want to give, all right, this is what I would say. I don't like it when they think down upon me because I'm Latino, Mexican, whatever this is, or I'm a minority. Dude, I'm just a regular guy. I don't like that. Me and Myra don't like that.
Yeah. I'm sure that's happened. Has it happened here? Have you seen a lot of it?
So far, I don't think it has, or I don't know if I've noticed. The people that we're around, they treat me the same as anyone. Most of the stuff we see online, I don't. You know what I hate? Have you heard of that Latinx stuff? I don't know. I'm not speaking for every Hispanic, but I'm pretty sure the majority. I don't like it because they say, oh, they're trying to be what's that word?
Inclusive?
Inclusive or gender neutral?
Yeah.
But what they don't, I don't know if they know. In Spanish, you have masculine and feminine.
It's ingrained. Once it's ingrained, and this is a postmodernist theory, is once it's ingrained in your language, then it's part of who you are and what you think and what you do. That's why they're trying to change it. These are postmodernist professors, and they know that how powerful language is. It's almost like a hypnosis device. And so if they can get you to start saying Latinx, they have gotten you across their threshold of getting rid of those gender roles.
Yeah.
And so it is mission critical for them to change the language. Even though it's not sticking, it's where they want to get to.
Okay. Because
I'm not talking about leftists. Yeah. I'm talking about specifically postmodernists, which tend to be on professors, which came from France. Mm. It came from, they used to be Marxist, but they turned into postmodernists out of France and came to the United States and became professors.
Okay.
And that ideology has spread.
So we hate it. I hate it. I know my wife doesn't like AOC a lot. She doesn't like her because of that Latin. It's because it makes no sense. Maybe it's because, we speak Spanish. It's, if I'm a man, it's Latino. Yeah. If you're a woman, Latina, there's no X. It makes no sense. I hate it.
See, in the Midwest, we have that too. We can say you guys, but say you guys a lot.
Yeah, it's a weird. But
we call the women
thing.
You guys too. We say hey. So I don't know.
But that thing bothers me, and I know they're trying to be the include. But there's also there's people are different, people are same, but I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. And same thing with like the minority thing. Like if people are, you suffer this and that. What? But don't just, or you're saying what I don't like is, I know because Charlie Kirk has mentioned it like on college entrance exam or whatever they do. They kind of have a preference for minorities within that. I actually don't like that because it makes it sound like, oh, so am I stupid? That's why you guys I'm not good enough. So that means you guys got to kind of rate or lower the bar for me. I don't like that stuff. You're not treating me the same.
The argument is that it's systematically racist. And that is the reason why there's less minorities in the particular subsections of the university. And so their solution was equity. We're going to force these to be equal percentages, and that will get rid of the systematic racism. But what we got to understand is it might not be because of systematic racism. It might just be some people like to go into this and some people like to go into that. Maybe it's genetic, maybe it's not, maybe it's cultural, maybe it's just what you watch as a kid and you want to become a doctor, you want to become a mechanic or whatever you want to become. But the assumption that they know the problem led to the solution of it's systematic racism. So the solution is to go to the university, and because there's actually more Asians than representative of the Asian population, we're going to decrease the amount of Asians, decrease the amount of white people, increase the amount of Latinos and Latinas, and increase the amount of African Americans, that is actually racist. Which is actually racist. That is actual systematic racism. So that was interesting. And it all comes from critical theory or critical race theory, which is interesting. I learned about that after I was running for city council. And I was knocking on doors and trying to find out what's important. And people really wanted more critical race theory in my ward, which was interesting. And so I read up about it, and I didn't like it at all. So I lost that election.
We'll talk about that too. I don't like it too much. Oh, recently, it was a few weeks ago at USD, they'll do this lunch and learn, whatever. So during lunch, that stuff. And they were doing a presentation, and they were talking about, they did a study, the past 4 years, since 2020 and 2024, they were conducting a survey with faculty and staff.
Yep.
You know, like pros, cons, whatever. And one of them was, they were talking about, DEI and this and that. For some reason, a lot of the, if I read it right, because me and Maya were there, a lot of the faculty's professors, they were complaining that there wasn't much diversity or this and that. And mostly staff like us were complaining, hey, how do we move up on the ladder? Because honestly, for us, like for me and Maya, because we work USD, I'm gonna be honest, I don't care about the diversity that much. I mean, it's cool. Like, I got different cultures, different that. But honestly, it doesn't really matter to me. When I work, I'm not, oh man, is this place diverse enough? I don't. I go there to work and get some money. It's cool if there's other stuff, but I don't really care if there's, like, if I'm being honest, if it was a bunch of, let's say, like white people, it's okay. It's fine.
If it were systematic, it would bother you. Like if it were obvious that, hey, this guy's getting promotions just because he's white and he's male. I mean, I get that. Like, and that type of thought can enter your head, and it can, it's like, that person is victimizing me. He's an oppressor. But if that's not happening, and hopefully it's not, and it could happen, there are people that are racist and there are people that are sexist. And that has to be watched out for. And there's stats to watch, is this, normal? But, who wants to move to Vermillion, South Dakota? When you look at who's going to be applying for jobs and coming here more often, just by, what Vermillion, South Dakota attracts is usually going to be like a Midwestern person. And that's normally a white person. So, if you do desire diversity instead of meritocracy, then, there's probably some case for that. But to make that your mission statement, your core principle, is probably going to cost you a lot of, just in terms of people getting aggravated by it and noticing how racist it is to do that. That's going to build up.
See, Carson, you are a very super smart guy, and I'm so surprised you're not up there like in city council or any of those political positions. Because if people, and it's because we probably heard like some people. It's because they don't know. I feel like they don't know you, especially me. Look, like when I talk to people, I actually have very bad first impressions, and I don't know why. Like when I see someone, I'm like, well, this person's gonna be like one of the worst people ever, and they become amazing. And the people I'm like, oh, this is gonna be an amazing person. No, they're actually one of the worst people. So I'm a very horrible judge of character, but that's why I kind of got to talk to people.
Yep.
But I've talked to you a lot, and I think you're amazing. You're smart, and I think you should be up there too. Like all these.
Well, thank you, Jose. I think you're one. I tried to talk you into running too.
Yeah, and I was so close, and I know it was. So I was. What am I? Southeast or Southwest ward?
Yeah, I think Southeast.
Yeah. I was so into it. It was Steve Ward and was it Jeff Gilbertson? They were running, and two things. First of all,
yeah, you're thinking about moving.
Yeah, and now I'm still here. And also, I was like, well, there's already two people. First of all, I think I probably chickened out more because I was like, no, these people they're a little more older. They have more experience. I'm just a normal dude. I have no experience, nothing. So I was like, no, I'll leave it them two. But I think I just chickened out more. But I was so close to it. And I don't know. I think I should have done it. I know, Chris
Yep.
Casson, he keeps telling people when I'm with him, he says, hey, Jose's going to be running for future office in Clay County Commissioner or something like that.
Yep.
And I've thought about some of that stuff, but then the more I dig into these politics, I'm like, man, this stuff I thought it was going
It
to be
gets
like
a little dirty, you
Yeah.
know, and people don't watch it. You know, when you look at city council and you look at, you watch views a lot, like how many, they post it on YouTube, and you go to one of the city council meetings and there might be 12 people in the crowd, on a normal day. Sometimes they get bigger, but then you look at the views on YouTube because they have a little view counter. It's usually like 12 people watch it, 50 people watch it. So, people aren't really, most of the time, not paying much attention. But there's a lot of stuff that happens back there, and I don't know because I haven't served it. I'm on the historical preservation board now, which was another wild thing to get on, which was funny. But there's a little bit of it's politics. It's politics.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I didn't know how. Well, now that I see and talk to people, it's not also an easy job, because I was thinking at first when I was...
And it doesn't pay well.
No, because that's what I thought. And I had a bad impression because I was like, wow, these people go there, every 2 weeks on Monday and get paid to do nothing? But then I started talking, and, a lot of the stuff is kind of busy, especially when you go up there like Clay County or like county commissioner, and also with Chris and Sydney, and then
they put a lot of time in.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, man, okay, that is a lot of work, and you're always just.
And they get a little bit more money on the state level, but it's still like they get $13,000 ish, and they put a lot of time. I mean, you look how much time Bill and Sydney and Chris are putting in. Even just traveling up to Pier and being away from your family for 2-3 months, and then all the summer stuff they have to do, and then campaigning. And then a lot of those guys are spending $20,000 to get elected, and it doesn't really pencil out as far as money goes. So politics is kind of like something like a passion for people.
Yeah. And
for everybody, Democrat and Republican, Independent.
Oh yeah.
If you're going out for politics, and I don't even know how they'd make money in a small town situation. I guess there's some things like that come up that maybe somebody's paying somebody, but who knows?
Yeah. If I want it, because with this, so for me, like on that side, I'm more of a, if people want to know more, same thing. I'd rather have less rules, less regulation stuff. I think it benefits more. So I don't know if it's because how I was raised. You get an opportunity. If it's good, if
you're an entrepreneur type too. So.
If it's good, it's good. If it's not, you got to change it up or pick something else. I think that's how it works. One funny thing, I think I mentioned it before, like with my dad's an amazing, hardworking man. He's, what do you call it with that bootstraps thing? But I remember one time when he was younger, before he had me, he was working in construction, and they didn't get laid off, but they had, did they get laid off? Or it was just like a temporary thing, whatever. But they had to go, him and his friends or buddies, they said, oh yeah, let's go to the unemployment thing. He didn't know about that. He went there, and there's a line and this and that. He said it was he hated it so much because he felt like it was wrong. He said, that's the last time I'll go to that.
Yep.
So he's that type of person. He hates that. He hates the food stamp stuff. I don't know if it's because because he grew up in like real poverty. So his family had it, and he said the cheese, government cheese, I never melted. But he does not like that stuff at all. He doesn't like helping this and that.
Yep. Well, I don't, there's a spot for it. And my dad used to say, there's a reason for that stuff. Like if you can't take care of yourself and you can't, like there's something that's happening, whether it be your physical abilities or your mind or whatever, and you can't do it, then go ahead and do it. But the problem is people are doing it that could. And that's if that gets abused enough, that could destroy a society. It really could.
Yeah, I've had family members, I won't say their names because I'll probably get in trouble. People they'll probably text me. But there's been a few that have. There's actually some that actually do need it. I know one of them, she actually does need it.
Yep.
Another one does not need it, and they lie about it. And I know, like, I know my parents are kind of like, that's kind of messed up because my parents are more of like the honest thing. And also they don't want to mess with the IRS and government, stuff like that. But yeah, you're like, that's kind of messed up. Like, why? And especially when, same thing when I moved here, it was just me working, and I still, I had Victoria and I had Myra, and we were fine, especially how Myra grew up in more poverty in Mexico. She's, oh no, we're fine, because if you compare it, it's actually better here. But me, I was a little more scared. I never asked for the food stamps or SNAP, whatever you call it, because my pride. But we were at that point. I think it was just that first year where we heard about the food pantry,
yep.
And we would go and we take the vegetables and this and that, and I was so embarrassed by it. I would cry sometimes. I'm like, I hate it, yep. But we need it. But then we got to that point where we don't need it, and I appreciate that stuff.
Yeah, and I should tell you, I had to use it one time too. I was right after college. Both my wife and I didn't have jobs, and we had our young son. We had a job, but it was not a very high-paying job. I was working at the winery, and my son was born, and he had severe allergies, and so he couldn't breastfeed or anything. That's how bad his allergies were, and we had to go on this special formula called Neocate, and it was a very, very expensive formula. It was like, it would have cost couple $100 a month. And we went down to the Vermillion County and we were able to get the formula from them. And, that was something I was very appreciative of. And my dad says, hey, that's what it's for. It's for to get you past these humps, but you got to get off it as soon as you can. And so is there shame to it? Yeah, I suppose there's supposed to be a little shame to it, because what's the motivation to get off of it if there's no shame to it? But at the same token, at some point in time, if you can't get off it, you have to accept it and get rid of the shame too. You shouldn't be shameful. Like if you've got a disability, there's no shame in it anymore, because we're past that. But yeah, it was, like you said, it was shameful to go get it. And that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. At the same token, you gotta tell people, because you don't want everybody, if they have to use it, to feel like, I'm the only one that had to use it, and that's not good for them.
Yeah, the stuff like, especially that food pantry, or when, like, a good example is churches. They do, when they do help out when you need it, that stuff is good. I just don't like when people abuse the system, and it sucks, because you're like, that's not fair.
Yeah, and
stuff like that.
Well, you take it from the government. You don't have to be shameful for it. That's the other thing, is like, when you go get charity off of a church or a friend or a family member, it's a little more personal, and it's there's an implied accountability there, and an implied, hey, you're going to behave this certain way with what I've loaned you or gave you or charitably done for you. But when you do it from the government, it's almost like, I deserve it. This is mine. I'm part of the society, so I should get it too. And that type of thought can be destructive if it spreads too much. There's a certain amount that society can tolerate and be fine, especially a very strong society and economically like America. But like, let's say Mexico, which doesn't have as much economic ability or whatever, if you get a certain percentage of society doing that, it could cripple it.
Yeah. One thing in Mexico, because dude, there is a lot of regulations to open up a bit. It's a lot. A lot of stuff you see, maybe they don't really have it's mostly under the table, but it's because it's hard to open a business and I get the regulations. You want people to be safe and this and that or whatever, but if you just kind of, let people kind of do their thing, they will. I saw, do you know who John Stossel is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watch him a lot.
He's cool.
I like his stuff. It's called Spontaneous.
He's been around for a long time too.
Yeah, I watch his stuff. I think it's great because I think he's more of a
libertarian.
Libertarian. I like that mindset because, like if your stuff is good, it'll be good. You'll see it, or especially like I don't know. Like, one thing I'll complain, I don't know if it's changed or not, but this is actually a big thing I never talk about too much. So when we sold a few years ago, when we started selling food, because we don't have a food. If people want to know, we don't have a food truck. Yep. We just have a stand. Yeah, it's actually really common in Mexico. I haven't seen any food trucks, which is fine. So we're like, hey, let's just do it like how Mexico. everything was fine. Actually, with the city, they're actually kind of cool with it. And then we got temporary food permits and this and that. Two things, which I'll talk about the city part and I'll go with the state. Two things with the city, it hasn't been a problem, but when you sign their permission thing, it'll say like you have to have permission from, the location, which makes sense. Like we were in front of the chiropractor. I got to ask permission.
Robes.
Yeah, Dr. Robe, he's cool.
Yep.
But one funny thing, if I remember right, and I just got to check again, if it says you have to ask permission, either it wasn't 25 feet. It says something, it's 25 or 50 feet around you. And I measured that. And if I was, for example, let's say I was in front of like Jason's place, a Silk Road. He said, oh, it's cool. But that means that measurement, if the bars over there, they're like, no, that's not cool. You can't do that. They could do that. I'm like, that's not fair. Why? If this guy says, why do I have to ask permission from all these places? But I know why, because, it's because I'm taking business from them. Mm-hmm. But that's not cool, especially if I was in Dr. Robes. It never happened. But like, for example, we're in the distance with Cafe Brulee. Imagine if they said no, because I'm that close. I'm like, that's not fair. And then, but I haven't had any issues with that. Another thing with the state. So when we signed because you got to get liability insurance and this and that and whatever, the temporary food permit lasts 2 weeks and you apply and you get their setup and whatever. The 2 years ago, that first year was fine. And then the following year, we want to do it again. And they said no. I'm like, why can't you give it to us? They said because too many people in the state have been getting temporary food permits. I'm like, okay, what does that have to do with me? Yeah. And they said, no, well, they said, I got to call them again, but they said, now it's only, you can only get it if it's a city event. I'm like, city event? So I'm like, because we would do it every Saturday, every Sunday. I'm like, I can't do that. They said, nope, it has to be a city organized event, which I'm like, that sucks. Well, why not? We did only like two, I think one.
Yeah.
And because it was farmers market, that counts. But that means I can't be there whenever I want. So that's why we took our business at Elk Point with the flower farm. Now, luckily, we're at the brewery. So that one's been fine because I don't need that stuff. But it kind of sucks because I would think, for example, in Vermillion, like at night, having a lot of food stands like back home in Texas, all that stuff. But technically, you can't because the state won't let you do it unless it's an event. But also the city thing, which they haven't had any problems if they just change it. If a business was, being an ass, they could say, hey, I actually don't want them to do that. So it's those like laws or regulations I understand, but I'd rather have it less.
Well, it gets weird too, because when you do, because you can get like a variance or you can get whatever passed by the city council and try to get done what you want to get done. But that gets into politics too. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I don't like this guy or this guy, whatever, and whether they want to give you a variance or not. So that's pretty interesting. So,
yeah, it's a weird thing. Maybe like I'm more of
how people enforce things gets kind of sticky.
Yeah, and then there was also a while back, this was years ago, same thing when we were doing it. There was some people selling, the same thing will be on Facebook. Hey, they're selling food on, at their house or whatever. I think that stuff is cool, but then I think they got stopped by, because technically you're not supposed to do that stuff.
Yeah, lawfare.
Yeah, so I hate that stuff. That's why when I go to South Sioux and Sioux City, South Sioux, dude, I like it because, there's people selling whatever. Talking about food, all that stuff. And, no one's following the rules.
Yep.
And it's cheaper. Also, there was one time, Carson, so we were over there. It was like December or something. And we were going at the store to buy some stuff. And there's a lady right next to the entrance. And I see her like, when people are walking by, she's asking, I'm like, what is she selling? Like drugs or something? I walk by and she says, you want to buy some tamales?
Bootleg tamales.
She's in like in her hoodie. I'm like, what's going on? And we're like, sure, we'll buy some. And she takes me into like she has a van and she's like taking the trolley. What sounds like looks like a drug deal.
Yeah.
And she sells it from her van. It's amazing. It was some really good tamales. And then we went back and got some. But like, technically,
you're a wild man, Jose.
Yeah, technically, you cannot. Because I told my wife, I was like, we can't do that in Vermillion, right? Like, no, we'll probably get in trouble. No. But see, like, I understand the rules. They don't want people to get sick. But it kind of, But the same thing with like a lemonade thing.
The only thing I don't like about it is it does become a little bit, because they can pick and choose what to enforce, and that's where it gets sticky. Because then it's like, okay, why? Why does this guy get to do it? This person doesn't.
Yeah.
And then, how come this guy does it for 3 years and this guy over here does it one weekend and he's busted for it?
Yeah. So make it either it's for everyone or not. I'd rather have less restrictions. So there's more, even though it'll be like more competition. Because it would suck. Like, for me, Mexican food, let's just talk about that because I'm more familiar. Let's say if they had a law, because I'm thinking about kind of that, was it license for alcohol, whatever, liquor license. Imagine if they made a law saying only like 3 Mexican restaurants could be obtained. Of course, every Mexican restaurant would be like, no, yeah, we don't want more business because it's taking away business. Mm-hmm. No, you have to, if your product's good, the more competition, it's also good for the consumers and prices. Yep. That's how I think about it.
It is. I heard one, I don't know if he is a philosopher or whatever, but I forget who he was. But anyway, he said, whatever law you have, you should enforce it 100%. And what you should really do is reduce the laws, because what happens is that's where a lot of corruption happens at the enforcement level. Might be a cop, might be a judge, might be the city council, might be somebody at the state. But that's where, you're my buddy or you're my uncle or whatever happens is that enforcement level. But yeah, if it's a bad law, if you can't enforce it 100%, it means you got a flawed law, and you should go back and reduce the law or make it more clear or whatever. But you see that happen with the building here. They let some people get away with not putting in a sprinkler when they do a renovation.
Yeah.
Or they'll say another person has to do it. It's like, well, why did you pick that, dude? And they'll go through a little debate, and usually the debate isn't very good, but they'll do a debate and then they'll vote. And then it's like, well, okay, this guy gets away with it, but this guy doesn't. And you guys have some reasoning, but one person will say, well, I let it go last year, but I don't know why I don't like it this year. And that was like almost a quote from the last city council meeting. It's like, that's not good enough. We shouldn't, is this a law? Yes. Okay. Well, let's reduce the law so that everybody else, if it's because they had to take out a wall, right? You take out a wall. Okay. Well, now I got to add sprinklers to the whole building. It's like, okay, well, theoretically that makes the whole building safer when you take out that wall. So why should I have to add sprinklers? I could leave it alone. It'd be less safe. And so I understand the logic there, but really what they should do is go edit the law and say, hey, if you make a renovation, like removing a law to make escape easier, then you don't have to update it, but to just give onesie twosie people, because some people don't even know they can go get variances. They read the law or the city or somebody at the city will say you can't do it, and they won't even get a variance. They'll just say, okay, I guess I can't do it. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, that's not good. That didn't help that guy that was, he's in construction, or the guy that owned whatever building he was doing. So that's a silly way that governments work or don't work, rather. But
yeah, that thing with I know it's been hitting some of the business I talked to in downtown, that fire suppression thing.
Yep.
Man, that one.
Huge.
Yeah, especially I was
talking.
It's a lot of money. Yeah, it is. That's why with people know, our pizza, Shaquan's. His name's Farron.
Yep.
He was doing that GoFundMe because he was telling me they started and everything's fine, but then later came that they have to change it. It's a lot of money. People don't know. It's not. Of course, people are like, we want more. For example, restaurants. Yeah. But it takes a lot of money for that stuff. Yep. It's kind of expensive. Luckily, when
you look at that building, I think the last problem with that building is the fire suppression. Yeah. That building needs a couple more bricks here and there.
He has ideas. He was showing me the renovations he's doing. And it was the cool thing is, I'm not saying it was my fault. I'm not saying my fault. It's probably helped with everyone else. But when I uploaded the episode, because I put the GoFundMe, because I was checking it, and there was $1,000-something donated in the last few days or that few days. And I messaged him like, hey, did you see that? He's like, yeah. He said, thanks to that episode. Or he said, we should get more episodes because he made I think more than half what he got. I was like, oh, that's cool.
I didn't know I knew our pizza was coming back in, and I thought that was great. And I didn't know who he was until I watched that episode.
Yeah. His ideas are great. It's just, it's the little tiny laws with the fire suppression, and people don't know about luckily I talked to a lot of people.
We had an electrical inspector. That was our issue.
See, man, this is they could just kind of lower the stuff. But
It's hard.
but I'm not. Same thing. Maybe I should talk with one of them too.
Yeah, high quality. It's going to cost a lot of money, you know.
It's a
but
safety.
that's the thing is like, you know, do you want businesses or do you want high safety, high quality, everything? You know, so it does become a balancing trick. But I do think those laws should be, you know, if we're gonna let people go with it, you got to go back and look at the law. And they did that with our B&B. You know, there used to be if you wanted to be a bed and breakfast, there was a 4-room maximum.
Really?
And the state law was 5-room maximum. So before I bought I bought an option to buy the building, and then I went up and talked to city council. Hey, can we get this changed? I need a few things if I'm going to go forward with this business. And so before I did this before I bought the house, because I knew I didn't want to be on the line, because once you buy the house, your leverage is gone. It's like, well, you're going to buy it. You already got it. You're going to have to do it anyway, or you can just go sell it and do whatever you want. So before I even bought the house, I was like, okay, I'm going to have this leverage, and you know, I want to put up this nice thing, but I'm going to need a few things from you. I'm going to need to get this alley closed. I'm going to need for it to go from 4 rooms to 5 rooms, and then I'm going to need a couple other little variances. And if I get those passed, I'll do this. And so, but they did the right thing. They didn't just give me a variance. They changed the law on instead of, so now anybody in town can have a 5-bedroom bed and breakfast. So instead of having a hotel, which is why we don't have to have a fire extinguisher or sprinkler system and stuff in there.
And that's good because now there's more options for the people.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if we were a hotel, we would have had to have all that.
Yeah, so I think one thing about, and it doesn't have to be, I'm not just talking about like the Vermillion City Council. It could be like anywhere, like it could be any city. Think like the people that are on it, like the council members, it's very hard if they don't, I'm not saying if they're not business owners, but if they're not familiar with the field, yeah, they don't understand. Like, you know, for example, like the food stuff or with your bed and breakfast, like all that stuff, a lot of them, or I don't know what business they got or if they done, but if they never experience it, they have no idea what's going on. And it's kind of hard to explain because you're like, well, it's better if you do this. And they're like, well, do you need it? Well, yes, we kind of do need it because it helps everyone. So it can be very frustrating, but same thing. I've talked to Julia. I need to talk to a few. I got John Cole coming up too. So
cool.
Yeah. See, it's been great, especially something that's been really, really cool. Well, I mentioned in the beginning, I make like these short clips.
Yeah.
Those been really cool because, you know, a lot of people don't watch a whole podcast.
A lot of people do though. Yeah. I'm one of them.
But there's a lot of parts where it's very interesting. And then the last one I put, it was on TikTok. It was with Ray. He's the over there USD Theater. That thing blew up on that one. It had like 80,000 whatever. Oh, that's kind of cool. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, but it's cool. I would like to get more because it's never about me. It's always about my guests. But like I want people to know about the people in town because they're interesting.
Yeah, well, you've done how many now? 100 and some? Or?
Yeah, today I'll upload 115.
That's amazing. You've been going at a blazing speed when you think about it.
It's been cool because now there's people that message me and they're like, hey, can I be on it? I'm like, sure, of course. Yeah, let's get you on this and that. It's been cool. I like it, especially thanks to you. Like now the equipment, and now I have more idea. Thanks to the library too, because it's my location now.
Yeah,
I didn't want to keep bothering Hillside Church. They even know. They say it's fine. Probably no, I don't want to keep bothering y'all. But it's been really cool, and I have more ideas. Especially like I talked to you about that live stream. Now I just got to figure out a hiccup with this house situation. But there's a lot of stuff I want to do, especially when like election comes up, the candidate forum. I think I have some ideas, or same thing. I would get like same thing. Someone here, make it so more people are more aware.
Yeah. Now I don't know how people vote in town. It's more like, it's seems to be like I got a friend group and they're voting this way, so I'm going to vote this way. Seems to be more the lines it goes. Because a lot of those town halls and stuff that the VCDC does, and it's a high quality thing that they do too, they're not very well attended and very well viewed. You see maybe 50, 100. And they don't get in that much depth either. Like when I watch these politicians speak, and a lot of times I look at a lot of their social media too, I don't really get a good sense of what they're doing, seeing, feeling, believing. Which is too bad. It doesn't get that depth. So what politics in Vermillion kind of turns out to be is just like, oh, I know that guy, he's nice, or that gal, she's nice. I'll vote for her. She's friends, in good, better, worse, whatever. That's just how it kind of goes with small town politics. People don't have a lot of time. They're spending more time, but I think the average person spends about 4 minutes a week watching political news and stuff like that, which is weird because I watch it like a lot.
I watch it every day.
I know. But when you look at the average person, they're not. And it's kind of disheartening when you watch that and you're really into politics and you see how people, I don't know much about it, but I'm going to vote for this person because I know him. But that's the best thing they got too, so.
Yeah. And then one thing that what I love when I talk about these people, you get to know more about them, because it happens too. Maybe you're like, why does he vote like this? Or why is his beliefs more like that? But then when I talk to them, you're like, oh, that's why. Same thing. You might not agree, but you're understanding why.
Yeah.
Like it was great with, for example, Sydney and Chris and them. Like it's not, they're not just there because, money, because same thing, it doesn't pay that great. They do want to make a difference. They want to do this. And it's hard to, what people don't know, that it's hard. They can't make everyone happy. It's also part of the job. Same thing. It could be like, for example, city council thing, everyone, which I like, you got different people with different ideas and it influences you. That's why I think I'll be a horrible politician because I get influenced a lot.
Yeah. And that's probably a lot of it too. As a local politician, you don't want to put your views out there as much either because it gets polarizing. So you play the soft pitch. So you pay here's a picture of my family. Look at me. I'm like you. I got whatever, I'm cool. And they'll do that rather than talk about a certain political view until they absolutely have to. And it's, right at the moment of the bill passing or whatever. And then they'll kind of give an answer, softest answer as they can. And that might be what local politics needs, because as soon as you become polarizing, the whole he's a radical or she's a radical comes out, and then they get, I don't like him because he's too extreme or on whatever issue, right or left.
Yeah.
So it gets weird, but I think it kind of, you look at people's voting records and, that says a lot.
Yeah, I think, and I mentioned it a while back too. I mentioned it a few times because I had, before coming to South Dakota, I thought everyone here was like a racist. Every time I saw a Trump flag, I remember because we were driving and I'm like, man, they're part of the KKK. I'm so scared. But no, apparently now you guys are one of the nicest people of all time. And I had a horrible view.
I've never met anybody in the KKK, FYI. I've never even heard of anybody being in it.
But see, once you're
an old thing.
But see, once you're
frankly, it used to be a Democrat organization, which is odd.
That's what my wife Myra, she didn't know that. Actually, I didn't know that too much until I started digging or learning about it. And we're like, it was part of the Democrat thing. Yep. So that's when Myra was like, what? I'm like, I know, right? I didn't know that. But it's kind of weird how, but same thing. I don't want to tell just because someone like nowadays.
Nobody should be demonized by KKK anyway. It's an old, it's like the old, like even people say communism or fascism all the time. Hopefully those are dead ideologies that people don't push anymore because they've been proven wrong so many times. Like KKK, communism, Maoism, Nazism. Those are all terrible collectivist societies where have almost become cult-like. They should be studied just to avoid them, because that's those collectivist things like, hey, we have to all get together and do this one thing together as a group. Sounds kind of nice, but it's not nice because it always excludes another person in the group. There's always an enemy, and that's not something anybody should prescribe to.
Yeah, I think people they are kind of soft on the not soft. Is it soft? They are scared to talk about politics, anything religion. I think it's perfectly fine. Sir, you might disagree, but it's okay. It doesn't mean just because you disagree, maybe there's something we disagree on, doesn't mean that I'm gonna hate you or this and that. It's fine. That's how people are.
Yep.
Like, you could disagree on some stuff. You could agree on this, that. It doesn't have to be like that. That's why I don't know. Or maybe it's just me. Maybe I just like knowing because I don't have a general perspective view or whatever on a certain topic. Well, actually, I do. It depends on what it is. But I do like learning more about it. Like, hey, well, why do you think like this or this and that? I think it's fascinating.
I think that's where society peaks, and I hope we stay there as long as possible. But eventually, you butt heads on something that is so polarizing and so terrible that you can't, either I get it and you don't, or, it becomes so polarizing that something has to give. And I don't know why society has to get to that level. I mean, life is pretty good right now. Like everybody's starvation is like unheard of unless you're dying of some secondary disease, which is, you go back 100 years ago is fairly, well, maybe 150 years ago, is fairly common to see somebody starve to death. And that doesn't happen anymore. Or people that couldn't afford clothes, or, there's a homeless population, obviously, but even homeless population really isn't starving to death, which is a wonderful thing. So I think, people got to be grateful of where we are and realize it's getting better. All these innovative things. Yeah, there's some scary danger to all this innovation, but it all usually leads to more GDP per capita. It usually means to more stuff for people. It usually means to less work hours to bring in the same amount of value. And that's all good for society. And, I look at what my dad grew up with and what I grow up with and now what my kids are growing up with. All of that has been steadily and quite aggressively going up. 100 years ago, a 1%, even a 0.5% increase in GDP was pretty normal. And now we're seeing, it's like we're increasing at a rate that is like 7 times faster in value generation than what our ancestors were. And it's all, mostly, I give it due to innovation, which is partly due to capitalism, because people are searching for that next innovative thing at a much greater rate. And the innovation begets itself. If you invent the wheel, then the car comes, and then, those type of things. So it's a great thing. I think the future is bright, and I think people just got to get excited about that and quit worrying about like how bad everything is and start being happy about how good things are.
Yeah, I think everything's going great. So we are at that 1.5 hour mark.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, but
Sorry
is there
about
any?
That. I talk a lot.
No, it's all good. I wish we had longer stuff, but my battery's died on my laptop. I forgot about that. Is there any last words you want to give out?
Yeah, I'm starting a weightlifting group for kids.
Sweet.
I want to put some muscles on these kids so they can do their sports that they want to do, get their squat, deadlift, and bench up. I got my nonprofit paperwork in, but I got to get the website going and then get my initial group of kids that want to join. So I've had a lot of interest from kids in junior high and in high school that want to join, maybe even some kids from college. But we'll see that one. And then next week's the Wasipi. I don't know if this is going to get uploaded by then, but hopefully everybody, I suppose by the time it's uploaded, it'll probably be done. So hopefully everybody had fun at the Wasipi, but we got a lot of drum group staying at our inn, so that's always fun. Yeah, but if you want to stay at the inn, give me a call and get your reservations. We get pretty busy in the summer and fall. And then if you need any IT or automation, I can help you out, or cameras or TV stuff. We got about 150 guys here around the area that can do that for you. And yeah, see you around town.
Cool. I'll put everything into the description. But no, I'll get you on a round 2 because there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. But
sure.
Thanks a lot,
snap.
Carson.
Round 2.